Right now, somewhere in America, someone is opening a grocery receipt and quietly wondering how food got this expensive. Someone else is staring at their bank app, watching their Social Security deposit disappear faster than ever. And maybe that person is you. If you rely on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, or if someone in your family does, then what's coming in 2026 isn't just another update. It's personal. It affects your rent, your prescriptions, your gas tank, and whether your money lasts until the end of the month. For years, Americans have been told the same thing. Don't worry, COLA will help. Cost of living adjustments were supposed to protect you from inflation. They were meant to keep your buying power steady. But now, heading into 2026, millions are asking a hard question. Is COLA still working the way it's supposed to? Or is it quietly falling behind while prices keep racing ahead? This isn't some distant policy debate happening in Washington. This is about whether your benefits actually stretch far enough to cover real-world costs. Food, housing, medical care, utilities, the basics of life. And the truth is, the COLA conversation for 2026 is creating anxiety, confusion, and yes, shock among beneficiaries. Because here's the uncomfortable reality. Even when benefits increase on paper, many Americans feel poorer in real life. And that gap between what you receive and what you need, that gap is becoming the story of 2026. In this video, we're breaking it all down, clearly, simply, and honestly. What COLA really means for 2026, why SSI, SSDI, and VA recipients may feel the impact differently, what's changing behind the scenes, and most importantly, what this means for your future and your financial survival. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might explain exactly why your wallet feels tighter, even when your benefits go up. What COLA really is, and why 2026 feels different. Let's slow this down for a moment, because COLA sounds simple, but the reality is anything but. COLA, or cost of living adjustment, is supposed to help your Social Security benefits keep up with inflation. When prices rise, benefits are adjusted upward, so your purchasing power stays roughly the same. That's the promise. That's the theory. But here's the problem. COLA is based on a specific inflation formula that doesn't always reflect how real people actually spend money, especially seniors, disabled Americans, and veterans. The formula tracks certain consumer prices, but it doesn't fully capture rising medical costs, housing pressures, or out-of-pocket expenses that hit beneficiaries the hardest. Now heading into 2026, this disconnect is becoming impossible to ignore. Inflation has cooled in some areas, but everyday expenses remain stubbornly high. Rent hasn't magically dropped. Grocery prices haven't gone back to pre-inflation levels. Insurance premiums, co-pays, and utilities are still eating into monthly budgets. So when people hear COLA increase, many expect relief. But what they often experience instead is frustration. The increase arrives, and it's already gone. That's why the 2026 COLA discussion feels different. It's not just about the percentage, it's about whether the system is keeping up with reality. Another key issue? Timing. COLA adjustments are based on past inflation data, not future costs. That means benefits are always playing catch-up. By the time your increase hits, prices may already be higher again. And here's where things get even more complicated. SSI, SSDI, and VA benefits don't all feel COLA the same way. Some programs have additional rules, limits, or offsets that can reduce the real-world impact of an increase. In some cases, a higher benefit can even trigger reductions in other assistance, leaving people wondering how an increase made life harder. That's why so many Americans are anxious about 2026. Not because COLA exists, but because it may no longer be enough. SSI recipients, the most vulnerable, feeling it first. If you receive SSI, you already know how tight things are. SSI is designed for people with very limited income and resources, often seniors, disabled adults, and children living at the edge of financial survival. There's no cushion, no backup, every dollar matters. So when COLA changes for 2026 are discussed, SSI recipients feel it immediately, and often more painfully than anyone else. Why? Because SSI payments are already low, and even a modest increase can be swallowed instantly by rising costs. Here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. SSI isn't just about the monthly check. It's connected to eligibility rules, income limits, and other assistance programs. A COLA increase can sometimes push someone closer to a threshold, creating anxiety about losing benefits like SNAP, housing assistance, or Medicaid. That means instead of feeling relief, some SSI recipients feel fear. Fear that a small increase could trigger a bigger loss somewhere else. Fear that the system designed to help them survive is working against them. Heading into 2026, this concern is growing louder. With housing costs remaining high and food prices still elevated, SSI recipients are asking how much is enough to actually live? And more importantly, who decides that? Another issue? SSI uses the same basic COLA adjustment as Social Security, even though SSI recipients often face higher inflation in essential categories like medical care. That mismatch leaves many feeling invisible. For families caring for disabled loved ones, this hits especially hard. Parents and caregivers are stretched thin, trying to make benefits last while juggling rising expenses. And when COLA fails to keep pace, the stress ripples through entire households. This is why the 2026 COLA conversation isn't abstract for SSI recipients. It's emotional, it's urgent, and it's about dignity, about whether the most vulnerable Americans can meet their basic needs without constant fear. SSDI, workers who paid in, now feeling left behind. SSDI recipients often say the same thing. I worked. I paid into the system. I didn't expect this. SSDI is earned through work history, and many beneficiaries never plan to rely on it. Disability changed their lives, and SSDI became their financial lifeline. That's why COLA changes for 2026 feel especially personal to this group. SSDI recipients remember what life was like before benefits, before every purchase had to be calculated, before inflation felt like a threat instead of a headline. But here's the frustration. Even with COLA adjustments, SSDI benefits often don't stretch the way they used to. Medical costs, in particular, hit SSDI households hard. Co-pays, treatments, equipment, and medications don't slow down just because inflation numbers do. Another issue is household impact. Many SSDI recipients support families or rely on spouses whose incomes are also under pressure. When COLA increases don't match rising costs, the entire household absorbs the stress. For 2026, SSDI recipients are watching closely, not just for the size of COLA, but for how it interacts with Medicare premiums and other deductions. Because an increase on one side can be quietly reduced on the other, leaving little net gain. This creates a feeling of betrayal for some. The system they paid into feels like it's giving less than promised. And while policymakers talk about averages and percentages, SSDI recipients live in monthly realities. That's why the 2026 update matters so much. It's not about politics, it's about fairness, and whether SSDI still provides the stability it was meant to offer. VA benefits, honor, service, and financial strain. Veterans gave years, sometimes their health, sometimes their peace of mind to serve this country. VA benefits are supposed to reflect that sacrifice. And like Social Security, VA benefits are tied to COLA adjustments. But for many veterans, the 2026 COLA conversation brings mixed emotions. Gratitude for any increase, paired with frustration that it still doesn't fully cover rising costs. Veterans often face unique medical needs, and those needs don't get cheaper over time. Specialized care, transportation, housing adaptations, these expenses add up quickly. And when COLA lags behind real-world costs, veterans feel the squeeze. Another issue, many veterans rely on multiple benefit systems at once. VA benefits, Social Security, SSDI, Medicare. When COLA adjustments don't align, budgeting becomes a puzzle with missing pieces. For disabled veterans and older veterans on fixed incomes, this creates constant uncertainty. Can you afford the next year? Will benefits keep up? Or will you have to make impossible choices? Heading into 2026, veterans are paying attention, and they should, because COLA isn't just a number. It's a signal of how seriously the country takes its promise to those who served. The hidden deductions. Why increases don't feel like increases. Here's where many Americans feel blindsided. Your benefit goes up, but your bank balance doesn't reflect it the way you expected. Why? Because COLA increases often collide with deductions. Medicare premiums, prescription plans, taxes, insurance adjustments, these can quietly eat into COLA gains before you ever see them. For 2026, this is a major concern. Even a decent COLA increase can feel small or non-existent once deductions are applied. And for people already stretched thin, that gap feels devastating. This is why so many beneficiaries say, my check went up, but I'm still falling behind. It's not imagination, it's math. Understanding this helps explain the emotional response to COLA news. It's not ingratitude, it's survival math. Why 2026 could be a turning point. The conversation around 2026 feels different because it's happening after years of financial pressure. People are tired, savings are gone, credit cards are maxed, patience is thin. That makes COLA changes feel like a test of whether the system can still protect people or whether it's slowly eroding their stability. This is why Americans are paying attention now, because 2026 may not just be another update, it may be a warning sign. What you can do right now. Staying informed is power. Understanding how COLA works, how deductions affect you, and how different benefits interact can help you plan, even in uncertainty. Track your expenses, review your benefit statements, ask questions. Small steps matter when margins are thin. Why these updates matter more than ever. Information is no longer optional, it's protection. When changes happen, those who understand them first are better prepared. That's why conversations like this matter. Silence benefits no one, except confusion. The emotional toll. Why this is wearing people down. Let's talk about something numbers don't show on a chart. Exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion. The kind that hits when you do everything right and still feel like you're losing ground. For millions of Americans on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and VA benefits, the stress isn't just financial anymore, it's psychological. Every year brings a new announcement, a new percentage, a new promise that COLA will help. And every year, people sit down, do the math, and realize the same thing. The relief doesn't last. That constant cycle creates something dangerous. Financial anxiety that never turns off. You feel it when you shop. You feel it when the power bill arrives. You feel it when your doctor prescribes something new and you immediately think, can I afford this? That stress builds. It affects sleep. It affects health. It affects families. For seniors, this fear is especially heavy. Retirement was supposed to mean stability, predictability. Instead, many feel like they're back in survival mode, counting days until the next deposit, hoping nothing unexpected happens. For disabled Americans, the toll is even deeper. When your income is fixed and your health is fragile, uncertainty isn't just stressful, it's terrifying. One unexpected cost can spiral into crisis. And here's the hardest part. Many people suffer silently. They don't complain, they don't protest, they adjust, they cut back, they go without. And that quiet resilience, it often hides how close people really are to the edge. That's why the 2026 COLA debate matters emotionally, not just financially. Because when systems fall short, the burden doesn't disappear. It lands squarely on the shoulders of people already carrying too much. The generational impact. Why this affects your kids, too. This isn't just about today's beneficiaries. The ripple effects reach younger generations in ways most people don't immediately see. Adult children are helping parents more than ever, covering groceries, paying phone bills, helping with rent, driving parents to appointments, quietly stepping in where benefits fall short. And for families already struggling with their own rising costs, this creates a pressure cooker. One generation leaning on another, not because of irresponsibility, but because the system isn't keeping pace. Younger Americans watching this are also asking questions. If this is what retirement looks like now, what will it look like for them later? If COLA struggles to keep up today, what happens decades from now? That uncertainty shapes behavior. People delay retirement. They work through pain. They fear disability. They worry that the safety net won't be there when they need it. So when we talk about Social Security and COLA in 2026, we're not just talking about checks. We're talking about trust. Trust between generations, trust in long-term promises, trust in a system meant to protect people across a lifetime. When that trust weakens, families compensate. And while family support is powerful, it shouldn't be the only backup plan. What watching closely really means in 2026. Staying informed isn't just about knowing the COLA percentage. It's about watching how changes interact. Premiums, eligibility rules, assistance programs, tax thresholds, small policy shifts can have outsized effects. And when you're on a fixed income, there's no room for surprises. This is why paying attention early matters. Not after the deposit hits, not after the bill arrives, but before decisions are locked in. Information gives you time. Time to plan, time to adjust, time to protect what little flexibility you have. Why this channel matters going forward. Let's end with the truth. No one likes to say out loud, the system is changing, whether we like it or not, and those who stay informed will always be in a stronger position than those who don't. This channel isn't about panic, it's about preparation. It's about clarity in a system that often feels deliberately confusing. It's about translating policy into plain language that actually means something for your life. 2026 isn't just another year. It's another test of whether benefits can keep up with reality. And the only way to face that test is together, with information, awareness, and consistency. If you want to protect your future, your family, and your wallet, staying connected matters because updates won't stop, changes won't slow down, and knowledge remains the strongest tool you have. This isn't the end of the story. It's the next chapter, and we'll be here for every update.